Okay, so I wanted to have a little chance today to come out and talk about the other side of dating because we see videos on TikTok and Instagram and YouTube and everywhere else from women complaining about men, and some of it gets kind of old. Men are at fault for absolutely everything that ever happened in the history of the world, and specifically, if you're middle-aged and white, you're guilty of absolutely everything ever. So, um, it is what it is. People can say whatever they want, but I wanted to come out and talk about what I've seen from the other side of it. And am I complaining about every woman on the planet? No. Am I complaining about the situation in general? No. Here's why. Being single and even being married is difficult. Dealing with interpersonal relationships take work, they take effort, they're never perfect. And we kind of forget that. And these things are a two-way street. One person needs to put in effort, as does the other person. If one person is playing games, my guess is the other person is going to wind up playing games. So this isn't directed at everybody. That being said, we've all seen videos, like there's one that comes to mind of this younger woman sitting outside of a cheesecake factory refusing to come out of the car because her 20-year-old date took her to cheesecake factory. She deserves better, and she's going to sit there live on TikTok and complain about this. And I was looking at it like, okay, that's just kind of stupid. First date, I want to go here. There's either more to the story or something. And then when you dig into it, you realize, nope, she was just being a pain in the ass. So let's not dig into too many of those, but that particular one I saw and I was like, that's just ridiculous. But there's so many of them that are just off the charts crazy. You don't even want to think about it. But let me give you the other side of this for a second. So when I've been divorced for years, and when you're a single dad, you have some issues that people without kids don't necessarily have, and they're not used to a single dad having, or people aren't used to single dad being a thing. And I do have 50-50 custody of my kids, all of whom are teenagers now. But that's so they're with me half the time, and I'm very actively involved in their lives. That being said, let's look at this. That's important in a minute. Now, that being said, let's go over a few things. And when I meet somebody, if I'm out and about, I'm wherever I am, and I start talking to somebody and we agree to meet for a coffee, drink, whatever, sort of 70% of the time I'm running into the exact same thing. And I'm not talking about all this, so bear with me. When you meet somebody, you find out you're divorced, of course people are going to ask questions about that. Everybody's naturally curious about it. I get that, and I'm not complaining. I don't think that's unusual. I think that's a great conversation to have. What happened? But it turns into almost an inquisition. So, oh, this happened. Well, what did you do to get her to do that? And then it's sort of like, let me figure out how I can take her side instead of just saying, hey, shit happens, right? People get divorced. It happens all the time. You let it go. But instead, what it turns into is this inquisition of how can I blame you, the person I'm sitting across from, who's buying drinks or coffee, and figure out what you've done wrong in this situation. Well, maybe it was some people just aren't meant to be together. Maybe it was her fault. Maybe it was partially my fault. But in your first time sitting down with somebody to try to figure out how to manipulate the conversation into it just being me, I initiate, we ain't having drinks or coffee again. It ain't going to happen. And I've had people get angry at me for not calling them back after that. Huge, huge, huge turnoff. Huge problem. And if it was once in a while, it wouldn't be a big deal, but it's sort of 60-70% of the time. It's up there. It's a big number. Now the other one that I find interesting is people I have my own place, I pay my own bills, I've got 3 kids, I pay their bills, I'm business owner, I'm have a PhD, I have a great job. Great life. I'm very happy with my life as it is. Now, if you'd see somebody once or twice and they wind up seeing where you live and they come over and they look and it's clean, it's not dirty, it's not, on the bad part of town. I live in a great neighborhood. I have my kids go to a fantastic school, uh, upper middle class area. What winds up happening is people see your place and they'll say, okay, great. Now I've seen your place. Why you're going to have to hire a decorator and change this, change that. Are all these books staying? Why do you have so many video games? And it turned into this laundry list of 10 things I need to go change so that this relationship can continue. And I got news for you. I'm 52. That shit ain't changing. You can. That's not right. So, that's just sort of a non-starter, but it's not uncommon. It's shockingly frequent. Now, let's go one step further. By the way, that also comes from female friends. It's like, oh, if you want to really be with somebody, you're gonna have to change all this shit about you. It's like, well, fuck that. I am who I am. You either like me or you don't. Really don't give a shit either way. Now this was one that I've come across multiple times. I want you, and this, by the way, none of the people I'm talking about are people I slept with or had a physical relationship with in any way. And this next one is also not falling in that category of people I had a physical relationship with in any fashion. Okay. Several times I have run into, I need you to take me and my friends shopping. Not drive us, not come with us. I need you to go with me and my friends so we can go shopping and you can pick up the tab. What the fuck is that about? And if it was once, it's no big deal, right? You're just like, okay, it's just an idiot person. But it's not, it's happened a number of times. And ultimately, and I've had more than one person tell me this, oh, I just want my pretty woman moment. Do you realize she was a prostitute, right? I mean, we do understand that part, that she was an actual prostitute at the beginning of that movie. And is that where we're going here? All right, so let's move into the big sort of the bigger relationship that I've had. One of the bigger relationships I've had since getting divorced. Um, this one got weird. Oh, by the way, in the non-physical relationship category, I've had more than one person like leave their bills sitting around my house. One of them put them on my computer keyboard, just assuming I'd pay their bills for them. I don't know what the hell that's about either, but we'll let that part go. Move on to one of the ones that I actually did have a physical relationship with. This one got fucking weird. Um, this one turned into sort of a mid-level weird ass nightmare. Turns out while we were in a committed relationship, she was actively soliciting lunch dates and gifts from other men. What do I mean by that? Had an Amazon gift list. She was on multiple websites like Seeking and a few others that actively look for ways to put things in what I'm going to call a situationship, where, hey, I'll meet you for lunch, but you got to send me gifts, right? So she's getting these people are sending her $300-400 Amazon packages that were very interesting. And this wasn't somebody I lived with. This was just a relationship that I had, but she was actively soliciting gifts from people. And the relationship was getting kind of serious. I didn't know any of that was going on. It was just sort of I found all this out later. But it turned out that it, on my birthday, actually, this was kind of funny. In the middle of a birthday plan that she'd put together, she disappears in the middle of it, like, oh my God, my brother called. I've got to disappear. I've got to go take care of my family. Total made up emergency. And this was somebody in her late 40s. Absolutely made up pile of shit emergency. Um, on the way out the door, erased their entire social media profile from all platforms, including LinkedIn, which was, more professional platform, across the board everywhere. Couple of days later, I start getting people knocking on my door, process servers looking for her. Bills have started to show up in my mail that are in her name. They're coming to my address. I don't know what the hell they are. I'm not opening them. I'm just putting in, not at this address, send away. Certified letters are showing up, gone from the face of the earth on social media. Um, I'm the CTO of a company that interacts with all the social platforms. I'm pretty good at finding people. Not to mention, I got a hold of her brother, who's married to an attorney, and the attorney got on the phone and said, "Yeah, we're not going to tell anybody where she is. Gone from the face of the earth, disappeared, moved to another city in the middle of a relationship, and it wasn't anything that was going on with me." Turns out, a couple of days after I was like, the lawyer said, "Hey, we're not going to tell anybody where she is." I get this phone call advising me to close out all my social media profiles. And it turns out one of the people she was soliciting gifts from was very angry with her and was coming after both her and me. Why me? I don't know. I didn't know who this person was, didn't know this person existed, but apparently he was pissed off at her and he was going to take it out on me. Um, that's pretty easy to handle if you're me. I mean, where I live, it's safe and secure. You're not getting in here without, knowing a whole lot of things about a whole lot of people. But the point is that, I live in a gated area. So it's when you look at these things in a vacuum, it's like, oh, men are all evil and men are all, the problem for everything. I get bills and process servers showing up at my door, and I'm advised to delete my social profiles, or someone else who I've never met could come after me on top of all this other crap. And people wonder why men are the way we are. You wonder why maybe we're not buying off on a lot of shit these days. And there's this growing trend of older men and even some younger men being like, you know what, it's just not worth it. But just the shit you have to put up with is just not worth it anymore. Now, had the person who broke up with me on my birthday not pull it off on my birthday, would that piss me off? Yeah, it didn't so much piss me off that it was on my birthday, but there was another part of that that I left out. She had arranged a bunch of stuff to go on with some people on that day. Not only did she skip out in the middle of it, she left me with the check. Right. So here's your big gift. She made a big deal out of it for like 3 weeks. I'm putting together this party for you. I'm getting some people together, your kids and whatnot. And I'm going to pick up the check. And then she skips out in the middle and it's like, here's the check, sir. I'm like, all right, fine. So, not only do I get all this crap going on, but I get stuck with the bill for it too. And people wonder why. And this is why when I'm urged to get out and date more, I'm like, you know what? Do I have to do that? Or can I just, call it a day? Now, before somebody says, oh, you got to stop meeting people online, maybe two of these were online. And we're not talking about especially that 70% number where you meet people for coffee or drinks or something. There's probably 20 people that fall in that category, and maybe two of them are online. Uh, the crazier ones, the hey, I want my pretty woman moment, I want this, that was all people I just met in person. So we ain't talking about this just being an online problem. This is it's everywhere problem. Now, I could go crazy like people do and scream into the camera and cry and worry about it, but I'm not angry about this. I'm not necessarily tired of it and say, oh, I've got to find the right person. I'm in a big rush. Let me go, find off and run off and find somebody. Starting to understand why there's this new thing out there called passport bros, which I find kind of a funny name. But what it is men who'll take their passport and go to another country to find somebody to marry because, there's less weird stuff that goes on. Starting to understand that a lot more. Now, is any of this going to change? Am I going to fly off to another country? It's not going to happen. I mean, I'll go to another country, but not with that particular purpose in mind. Now, is any of this is this video going to change society? Is this video going to be, viral? One of those things that goes everywhere? Nope. I absolutely bet that this is going to be my least watched, most hated video ever. But hey, it's important to have goals in life. So I hope everybody has a great day and enjoy your week.